It's time to dive beneath the surface and into the minds and hearts of your favorite celebrities and pop culture icons. Welcome to Up and Adam.
Hi, guys. Welcome back and happy Tuesday. So, guys, I know that I'm guilty of saying this every single week, but Tuesday is one of my favorite days because, well, usually I do it with Femtero, but today I'm not doing that. So, I don't know. I just woke up happy today. Guys, it's a new year. It's a new time, and I'm just so excited to be here with you guys and to talk about this Braunwyn drama. This is crazy. It sounds like a lot of her co-stars are calling her narcissistic, hypocritical, and so many other words with their opinions of the way that Braunwyn has been behaving lately. But before we jump in, guys, you know how this works. If you haven't already, hit that like button. Let's get some more eyes on this video. And I'm going to be dropping the link in a little bit for you guys to start calling in. All right. So I wanted to bring this up because I found this online. Elizabeth Lynn Vargas, who just recently joined the new cast, or the new season 15 of The Real Housewives of Orange County, is calling out Braunwyn. Braunwyn came forward doing a Instagram Live, I want to say. She was doing an Instagram Live next to her husband, Sean. And when she was asked, you know, would you be upset since you're dating a woman, Chris? Would you be upset if your husband started dating too? She said, yes, absolutely. I would be upset. And that's why we're going to therapy for this. So she's now being called out by her castmates, who she's not really getting along with any of them, for her hypocritical behavior. We have Elizabeth, who went on to say, after someone said, I'm loving that you're calling it out, Elizabeth said, next she'll be jumping off of a flying saucer with an alien landing on a mountain, screaming, I'm in love with an alien now. I mean, come on, what's next? Okay. And then we have another former Real Housewives of Orange County, kind of the OG of the OC is what she likes to call herself, Vicki Gunvalson, who's never really been a fan of Braunwyn, coming out and also speaking in Elizabeth's defense. She's pretty much saying that everything that Braunwyn is doing at this point seems like it's just a reach for fame. Like she's trying so hard to be relevant, but really none of Middle America can relate to the things that she's going through. Or not Elizabeth, but Vicki came out and said, someone once told me fame is like a drug. They are both bad. Braunwyn, which she always calls her as a diss, Braunwyn has gone way too far. Middle America doesn't relate to her chaos. For that matter, who does? I agree with you, Elizabeth, which is actually pretty intense. Guys, again, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button. But since we're talking about Elizabeth, I want to move on and talk about this latest episode and all of her struggles that she's been going through. So Elizabeth was raised from 0 to 13 in a religious cult, which is interesting because we have another housewife on The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City who is also kind of going through cult-like behaviors, allegedly. Elizabeth's father was one of the main preachers, and it was kind of insane, her story. This whole season, we see her as she tries to navigate fitting in with the women. She talks about her wealth excessively. She just kind of goes on and on, but really she's talking in circles and we don't get to find anything out about her. But now it seems like it's taken us up to episode 12 for her to really come out of her shell. And to all people, Braunwyn, the same person that she's dissing at the moment. She went on to say that in this cult, she had a uniform. She couldn't see doctors. They kind of perform their own medical practices within the cult. That they caught their own food. They were told what to eat. And eventually this cult was shut down by the FBI. After Elizabeth went on to go speak with a neighbor or some little kid at the time and tell him what was going on, people thought it was crazy. So they ended up investigating this cult-like behavior, and the FBI ended up shutting it down. For that reason, her dad vowed to never talk to her, to disown her, and kind of send her on her way. But the really sad part was when Elizabeth is telling the women about everything that was going on within this cult. Cult is a strong word, but that's what she's calling it. She said that she was kind of taken advantage of by many different men. And it was not like it was common knowledge within the cult. They knew what was happening and they were touching her in inappropriate ways, doing things that they shouldn't have been doing. And this is obviously damaging for anyone. Not just Elizabeth, but anyone who's going through any kind of situation like this, especially as a young girl from the ages, remember, 0 to 13 is when she was participating, or her family was participating in this cult. She went through it. She shared this information and she said that she's lived in fear and shame for so long, but Braunwyn pulled it out of her. She had a full-on panic attack right there in the woods. And I think now she probably feels like she has a weight lifted off of her shoulders. I did want to move on though, because there's not just this sort of crazy going on in this past episode. There's more. Shannon's having a full-on meltdown. So guys, in this episode, Shannon tested positive for coronavirus, which is not good. Obviously, we all know that 2020 has been the year of insanity with this pandemic and COVID and everything happening with all of that. But Shannon finally tested positive. She thought she would after her daughters got it. And she went on to say in the last episode how mad she was. I'm so mad at my daughters for not taking this COVID thing seriously. And I'm just so upset and that they put me at risk because I have lung issues. And it was really all about Shannon. A lot of people were calling her kind of narcissistic in that way, but I wouldn't call her narcissistic. I would just call her kind of intense and emotional. I think that would be a better way to say it. Guys, before we go on, make sure you hit that like button. Let's get more eyes in here, and then I'll drop the call-in link for you guys to start chiming in here shortly. Shannon's giving John ultimatums, pretty much letting him know he can either be with his kids or he can stay in the house. He doesn't get to do both because at this point it's not safe. And there goes John. As she's going through the house and she's recording her own home videos, you see her yelling at her daughters about spraying perfume. Why isn't this clean? Why is their dog mess on the patio? She's just going off on these tangents left and right. But the crazy part is she's filming it herself. She's filming it as with a home video, a camera of her own, filming herself yelling at her daughters. So she knows exactly how she's being portrayed. She's the one portraying herself this way. What I find to be interesting about this is Tamra Judge just recently slammed Shannon Bedore as being super fame hungry and saying that she'll do anything for some camera time, which is the same very thing that they're all now saying about Braunwyn. So do you just get to a point where this fame thing gets to your head and you're willing to throw anyone under the bus or do anything in order to maintain it? I could see that. I could see that for sure. Here, let me drop the link actually, because I know somebody's going to have an opinion about this, but I'm going to keep it moving. Going on to some more kind of insanity that went on in this episode, we have the infamous Kelly Dodd. Kelly Dodd is one to constantly walk the line, and she says the most outlandish things. She says things that get her in trouble, and her mouth kind of overloads her all the time. When she's sitting there talking about the coronavirus after Shannon tells everybody that she tested positive, she actually said in this episode, I was trying so hard to get it, which sounds ridiculous. It sounds actually, I want to say stupid, but stupid's not a nice word. But it does sound stupid to say that you were trying so hard to get COVID. Even though we know that she jokes a lot, this seems like one of those things that you probably should not joke about. But what I did find to be interesting was the producers were asking her about her Mexican heritage in this episode. When they were asking her about it, she said, hold on, because she was doing an interview. She picks up her phone and she calls her dad. She says, hey, Dad, what are you doing? He just happens to be making tamales at the time. And I mean, it couldn't have been better timing for what they were trying to prove as a point. But then her dad goes on to explain their whole Mexican heritage, kind of where they came from, how they got here, and how she is affiliated. Because this has been an ongoing topic, especially when she was accused of being I don't want to say the word, but accused of having racist-like behaviors, allegedly. God, I hate saying that. But I love how they're cooking. When they're all talking about this, they're cooking in this cabin and they're talking about how Shannon has now tested positive. Kelly saying she wished she would have tested positive. And Braunwyn's the only one without a mask on. Braunwyn ends up calling her husband, Sean, after she finds out that Shannon tested positive. And she's asking him, like, what are the symptoms? I feel like I'm dizzy right now. He's like, calm down. Being dizzy is not one of the symptoms. And she's like, okay, well, I need you to Google the symptoms. I need you to let me know what's going on. And she really went on to say that she has a codependent relationship with him. She relies on him for a lot, which is interesting because it seems like she needs him there. And I hate to say this, but it seems like she needs him there as a little bit of a punching bag. And she uses him when she needs him. But then when she's done with him, it's like, give me my space and stay off to the side, which is A lot. I mean, for Sean, a lot of people are like, get out of this relationship, save yourself. Especially, again, like I said at the very beginning, Braunwyn is allowed to have a girlfriend, but for Sean to have a girlfriend, it's completely out of the question right now. Braunwyn said, and she's made her stance known, that she would have a huge problem with this, and they're going to counseling to figure out how to move forward with that. Gina Maxey, cabin. Yes, when they were on the girls' trip, Elizabeth, Kelly Dodd, Braunwyn, and Gina. Kelly Dodd just wants a check, but fun to watch anyways. A lot of people would agree with that. Shannon is a terrible drama queen. All look at me, no class, and hard to respect. The famous money doesn't buy class applies here. Clever. Okay. So, and Amanda said Braunwyn is a sick woman. You know, it's really insane because a lot of people have their different opinions, but we're just going to have to keep trying to understand it, I guess. I don't know. All of the women were freaking out at the cabin because they're sitting there realizing, well, Kelly and Braunwyn at least are realizing we were just at Shannon's house. That was part of the reason that Braunwyn was freaking out too. But Kelly did get a phone call from someone letting her know in this episode she has been around someone who has been exposed to COVID, the coronavirus, and that she needs to quarantine for 14 days. For Kelly, that was kind of mind-boggling because she was about to take a trip with her now husband, Rick Leventhal, to Napa. She wanted the same thing that one of our famous Real Housewives of Atlanta, Cynthia Bailey, wanted, and that was her perfect wedding date of 10-10-20. She was going to do anything to have it. She didn't care about COVID. She didn't care about taking the precaution. She said, I'll throw on a mask and I'm going to Napa Valley. Until she got this phone call. Even though Gina kept saying the whole time, no, don't go to Napa. You can't do that. Kelly had her own idea of what she was going to be doing. Let me go ahead and drop this in case you guys want to call in. If you don't, that's totally cool. Hey, Adam. So glad to have caught your live stream. So great to listen to while working. Thank you, Mina. If Kelly didn't get that call on camera, she would have gotten on that plane. You don't really need to take a plane to Napa, but I agree with you. Okay. So Braunwyn ends up sharing in this episode. I'm keeping this about Braunwyn because that's what we made the main thumbnail about. And she's really getting attacked by a lot of the cast members right now because the cast is kind of over her extreme storylines, even though these are things that Braunwyn could very easily be going through: alcoholism, anxiety, depression in some capacity, an open marriage, now being a lesbian. You know, she's kind of all over the board right now with her storylines, but this is what she's saying is going on in her life, and she wants to share it. She feels like this platform has been able to help her do that, and especially not drinking anymore has helped her kind of reach deep down inside and figure out what exactly she's been drinking so much to hide. I know, guys, you're going to have to follow this with me because it's a lot. She tells the women at this cabin that she will be coming back to the cabin soon, which is kind of a contradiction because she said she wants to be home with her family, especially during COVID. And if she has been exposed to COVID, she wants to be home with her family. But then in the next breath, she tells us that she will be coming back to the same area with her, what she likes to call her wife, Shari. She's coming back to vacation with Shari. Shari's her sober buddy, and she's coming back to Wusa. Gina's a little confused and all over the board with this situation because she understands that Braunwyn has said that she prefers women to men. She's said that, made that a known statement before, especially to Gina. But she doesn't know how Sean can accept bringing this woman into her house and being around all the time. So Shari has now entered into Braunwyn and Sean's home in their home life for about 45 days. And Braunwyn's claiming, I need her here. I need her to be here, and I need this woman around in order for me to maintain my sobriety. Now, does Sean like it? No. But does Braunwyn care at this point? No. I think Braunwyn feels like her sobriety and her mental health are more important in this situation than maybe Sean's is. And of course, that's all hearsay. Braunwyn hasn't said that, but a lot of her behaviors are leading people to believe that this is kind of how it is in this house. Sean doesn't really get a say-so. Braunwyn gets to do what she wants. She's now introduced her girlfriend Chris into the family. She's brought Chris over for family dinners. She's introduced Chris to the children. She's gone out with Sean and Chris to dinner. Like, it's just kind of a lot. It's a lot new. It's a new modern day dynamic that a lot of people aren't really understanding. Guys, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button. 250 in the room. Let's see if we can get to 300. I'm going to see what you guys are saying right now. Braunwyn is only trying to be the head queen bee. I don't believe she's an alcoholic. I think she is just a piece of work. Okay. We all know that during the first year of sobriety, for an AA person, it is supposed to be in a relationship they're not supposed to be in a relationship to avoid drama and extra stress. That's interesting. I didn't know that. And then someone else said, Adam, if I pay attention to only one creator on this media, it would only be you. I don't even watch. Well, thank you. I appreciate you. And then someone else said, my daughter tells me thruples instead of couples is the new normal. Okay. All right. That's interesting. I don't know if thruples are the new normal. I think that thruples, it's not really a new dynamic. These things have been happening for a long time, but I think it's now more appropriate to talk about as things change over time. I don't know if appropriate's even the right word, but it's interesting. I want to go over to Emily really quick though. We see in this episode that Emily finally gets Shane back, and I have to say, guys, this guy just jerks me around. When she picks him up, she's like, are you happy to be picked up? Because mind you, this guy was coughing up blood. He had COVID bad. He had 105-degree fever and had to be admitted into the hospital, while Emily also had COVID and had to stay home and take care of the kids. We don't really know how she was able to take care of the kids when she had COVID too, but she managed to do so, I guess. When she picks up her husband, he looks like he is not thrilled to be there. Emily has that bubbly personality, and Shane has never really delivered that. You know, when they were asking her, well, when Gina was asking Emily, how is Shane doing? Is he doing better? Is he like back to a normal percentage of his health? And she's pointing the thing at him, showing that he's cleaning the garage. And he's like, I still find you to be annoying. That's how I'm doing. And it's like, gosh, you little jerk. And I'm not trying to be biased at all, but your wife is sitting at home taking care of your kids and just showing how much love she has for you and the family, and you still just sit there and dig at her. And Emily has gone on to explain their relationship is like this, so people shouldn't really be so hard on Shane. But I just don't understand. If you know this is how you're portrayed on camera, you must not care if you think that, or if people think you look like a jerk. It must not bother you, because he continues to do it. And by him calling his wife annoying, it's like, I can't do it with that guy. Anyways, Kelly's stirring up more drama in this episode, and she ends up getting on the phone with Shannon. Shannon obviously has COVID, so she's not seeing anybody. When she films, it's usually on FaceTime or through a window, I guess. But she's talking to Kelly Dodd, and she asked, did Braunwyn end up talking to Elizabeth about the investigating? When she talks to her about it, she said yes. Kelly said, Braunwyn told Elizabeth that it was brought to her on a silver platter. Shannon's like, oh, wow, who brought it to her on a silver platter? And Kelly said, Braunwyn said that you did. Braunwyn told Elizabeth that Shannon pretty much initiated the conversation as to what's really going on behind the scenes with Elizabeth's finances. Is she really as rich as she leads on? But guys, mind you, this is the same behavior, this kind of chess player behavior of trying to control the storylines without really getting your hands dirty, that Tamara and Vicky have both accused Shannon of in the past. So this is not news. But Shannon immediately gets defensive and says one thing she can't take is a liar. And that seems to be something that Braunwyn is lately, or at least Shannon is accusing her of, because Shannon says that she never said that. She didn't say that. She didn't participate in that conversation, and she didn't bring anything to Braunwyn on a silver platter. She goes, are you kidding me? As she always does, and she's obviously peeved. Now I feel bad for Braunwyn, because when Shannon gets out of COVID, she's going to be coming for her really hard. We know that the reunion was tough. We know that it was insane, and that all of the women were coming after Braunwyn. She doesn't really have anybody on her side at this point. That's why we're going to see Noella Bergner come in. And also, I have a pretty big hunch that Tamra Judge will be back, especially because she's been spending so much time with Braunwyn. And she's come out and publicly supported her decision to come out as a woman who only likes other women. So I feel like Tamra might be using this as a little bit of a crutch to get herself back on the Real Housewives of Orange County, to get her orange back, but we'll see. What I did think was interesting, though, and refreshing amidst all of the chaos that's going on in this episode, is that we get to see a little bit of an insight into Kelly Dodd and Rick Leventhal's life. Kelly Dodd sitting there, and this was kind of cute. You see the interviews back and forth with her daughter Jolie, and Kelly's like, it is so tough to raise a teenager now. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. And then you see Jolie come on and she's like, my mom is crazy. And then she's like, well, my kid is off the charts. Do I send her to boarding school? And then her daughter comes on and says, she yells at me for nothing. But what was interesting here was when they asked Jolie about Rick and her relationship with him, she likes him. She thinks that finally there's a normal guy in Kelly's life. And like Jolie said, usually Kelly doesn't have normal people in her life. I thought that was a breath of fresh air, especially because I've had multiple step parents. And it's really important to like who is coming in and out of your household, especially for the kids. So that's good for Kelly for making the right decision with Rick. And he seems like a pretty stand-up guy. Before I bring on our caller, guys, 284 in the room. Let's see if we can hit 300. I have a few callers in the room, and I'm going to start bringing them up. But I did want to end off with how this ended. Emily ends up sitting down with Braunwyn and talking about this trip, right? When she was talking to her about it, because remember, Emily did not end up going because she had COVID. Braunwyn's explaining, I couldn't be around the women after a certain point because I'm not at a place where I'm healthy enough to be around all this alcohol. So I had to get another hotel room. And when she's explaining that she has this wife that comes around, Emily had, I think, some pretty good advice. She says, listen, at what point do you get to where you have to take a step back and realize, like, I'm jeopardizing my relationship just for my own well-being? And that made sense to me. Emily also went on to let us know that her relationship with Shannon has been developing because they've been both supporting each other during this pandemic, during all of COVID. They call and check up on each other all the time. And I don't know if you guys remember over the past few seasons, but Emily and Shannon haven't really gotten along. So with that being said, let's bring up a caller and let's see what's going on. Hi, Mayela.
Oh my God. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm working. I'm good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So
did you watch any of Orange County?
You know what? I tried, but all I do is I look at your blogs and see what's going on. And with the Braunwyn, that chick.
Yeah.
You know what? I understand if you're going to be gay. That's cool. Whatever. But it's not fair that she gets to have a girlfriend and he can't. Like, That's...
No, I think that's what everybody's saying. And that's why she is being accused of being hypocritical, because at this point, it's like, why do you get to have a new relationship and you get to bring your girlfriend over, introduce your girlfriend to the family, have these live-in beautiful women that you call your wife as sobriety partners who come in the house and stay and whatever. And Sean's kind of limited.
I'm a counselor, and it's like, to me, you got to take care of yourself first and be in one. You want to be sober. You can't be in a relationship, really, because you got to take care of yourself. And right now she's everywhere. I don't know if it's a storyline she wants to deal with, but it's just, in reality, if you're really an alcoholic and you really are trying to, recover, and you can't bring all this other chaos into your life because your life is already chaos, So you want to make it, so it's like, what are you doing? So I'm thinking, well, people from Hollywood are kind of, is it a storyline? I mean, that's what it is. That's what it is. But it's just, I know as a counselor that you are not to be in a relationship, especially, they're sober. There's too much going on for her to take care of herself. She needs to take care of herself first.
Well, a lot of people were saying that they feel like Braunwyn should have taken this season off and put herself into a rehabilitation center instead of filming all of this to really get better if that's what she was trying to achieve.
That's what I'm saying. To me, it feels like a storyline. Because in reality, in reality, you gotta take care of yourself. There's too much going on. Production, the lighting, the storylines, all this other going out to dinner with other people that are drinking. You know, it's not that easy the way she sees it. The way she's, avoiding liquor or whatever. It's not that easy.
Well, someone
So,
said on here, we have Theo. He said, I disagree. I think she isn't ready for Sean to have a relationship now. She needs time to process the possibility of him pursuing someone else. But then that's such a contradiction. That's why she's being accused of being a hypocrite by Elizabeth Lynn Vargas, because it's like, how are you expecting for Sean to come out in full support, which he did when she did her interview with Glad, and she came out and said, this is who I am. I love women. I'm not attracted to men. And he came out in full support saying, I will always support my wife. But then, what support does this man get? And I think that's why everybody's starting to, as much as they love that Braunwyn's living her true, authentic self, people are really starting to question, where's the line to be drawn here? And how fair is it for this man?
It's not. That's what I'm saying. Are they divorced or just separate?
No, they're not even separated. They're living in the same house. They have no plans of getting a divorce.
It's like chaos. It's chaos for everybody in the household, even the kids.
Well, when he said,
I would never put my kids through that.
I agree. Guys, 300 in the room. Go ahead, hit that like button. But when he said she jumps on every bandwagon to be relevant.
Yeah, exactly. She should have took time off, worked on herself if she's really, really an alcoholic and has problems, or like, is it a storyline? Because that's BS. I call it so BS. Like I say, I'm a counselor. I've been through it. I used to like women, and I stopped because honestly, I put my kids ahead of myself. I had told I'm going, I'm coming out. No, anyway, so I told my daughter that I wanted to have a relationship with a female, and she said, no, Mom, you have a granddaughter now. So I did it. It's like, you got to work on yourself to see where you're going to be, And
I think that, especially you're the counselor here, but I think also too, there has to be a healthy balance of what you're doing to make yourself happy and how you can maintain some sort of normalcy within your family while doing that.
Yeah, but to me, that's a little way too much. If you're not, you're bringing in other people into the relationship, he can't bring anybody, which would be worse if he did bring other people. It would be just the F fest. You know what I mean? In the household.
No, I agree. Suzette said, how do you not know you like other women until after 20 years of marriage and 7 children? And then Winnie went on to also answer and says she loves the TV time fame and she's fame hungry.
That's true. I totally agree. Like I said, common sense is to get your S together, get your shit together yourself. But like I said, she's bringing so much. She already has a hectic life, a chaotic life. And she's bringing more in it. So to me, it's like, this is just for show. Well, and if it's not, she's going about it all wrong.
And I know that you said you didn't watch it, but she actually said in this episode, and before I say this, I want to bring this up. Dana, thank you for the super chat. Need many prayers for our precious Kim Taylor, for she is ill. Thank you. Love, blessings, light. Aw. We're sending all the love and light to Kim. I'm going to keep this up for you guys so everybody can send Kim love. That's sad. That's not a way to start your new year. Going back to it, though, really quick, I do want to say for Braunwyn, she did say in this episode that she has this perfect life in her family, and it's picture perfect, and across the storyboard, it looks like it's what everybody would want, but she doesn't want it anymore. That's not what she wants. And when she has these fantasies, she said that her husband, Sean, and his gender are not in the starring role of these fantasies. So she's really, if she's making this up in any, I don't think she's making up the fact that she likes women. That doesn't make sense because we can tell she likes women. But if she's making up the fact that she really has no attraction towards men, she never wants to be with a man again, and she's not actually an alcoholic, it would be really unfortunate to be playing with these kind of intense storylines that people have these everyday struggles. So it's like you're trying to, because a good housewife, we can relate to them as they go through things, whether it's alcohol abuse, cheating, we all have gone through something, and there's a little bit of something for all of us. That's why they usually have cast members of like 5 to 7 women.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's people that I have gone through sexual abuse. I have gone through alcoholism, drug use. Been sober since 97. So if you're gonna tell me this and the way she's doing it, you're wrong. It's like it's totally wrong. If it's just for a storyline, people like me don't appreciate that because you gotta take care of yourself first before you could even take care of anybody else or move on with your life.
I agree. I agree with
So
you.
yeah, she pisses me off.
I agree with you. Theo said, that sexuality is a spectrum and it takes people time to come to terms with it, especially people who come out later in life. And I could see where that would be a thing, but we'll just have to honestly see how this plays out. We know that Braunwyn is not going anywhere. She will be back next season. Whether people like her or not, she will be back because she has the most conflict and the most kind of colorful storyline to go off of. In Real Housewives of Orange County, the ratings weren't amazing, so they'll keep her.
Yeah, so yeah, I haven't seen it, but like I said, I just look at your blogs and find out what's going on. So thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
I appreciate you. And hey, we're sending you all the best. And if you haven't, make sure you send a prayer, a little bit of love to Kim.
Oh, definitely. It was nice talking to you, Adam.
Thank you, Mayella.
You take care of yourself. Go back to work.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Bye.
Bye. All right. And one more caller we're going to take up. Hi, Naomi.
Hey, Adam. I can't hear you for some reason. I think it's like my phone, but I'm going to try to pull it up again.
Okay. I'll drop you down.
Sorry.
All right. So, guys, this is interesting. Again, if you haven't liked this video already, make sure you hit that like button. Let's get as many eyes as we can in here. But, it's a really conflicted storyline that we're dealing with here. Braunwyn is all over the board, but to say that people don't have these problems in real life, we can't take that from her. We can't say that she doesn't have these problems really, and that she's not all there and that she's doing this all for fame. But we can allude to that because that is what it seems like a little bit. But again, it's like, you are not in Braunwyn's head. You don't know how she feels, and we can't write this for her. Let's see what Naomi has to say. Hi, Naomi.
Hi, Adam. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly. I just had to go onto my Safari.
All right. So I was curious, were you calling in to chime in on the Braunwyn stuff?
Yeah, I do have like a lot to say about that. Like, I do feel like she might be a little bit disassociated. And you like see that a lot with people who have been through like traumatic childhoods. So it kind of does seem like she has this one life where she's like Braunwyn, the mom with 7 kids, and then she can like flip the switch and then be like the lesbian.
Yeah.
And like hate Sean. And I don't know if it's maybe the alcohol had anything to do with that, but I don't believe that she's fully sober. I think that she's probably not drinking, but she must be taking medication of some sort.
Okay. And I mean, something that people flew over a little bit too is the fact that she did mention in one of the last episodes that she has a couple times really just lashed out and smacked or hit Sean in the face. And she's gone through some crazy up and downs. I don't want to use the word crazy, but some intense roller coaster up and downs. And
yeah, and I do believe it. I do believe it's her true story. I just think that it's hard for a lot of other people to understand, maybe because her life was like so crazy growing up. I really think that's where it stems from. I think it's like her mom, and then like even her mom being in her life now, like I don't think she's ever really dealt with the way that she grew up because it wasn't normal. And I think she kind of just like disassociated from it. Like what she's doing now, like she kind of just, like put it in her back of her mind and never really dealt with it. So it's coming out in other weird ways.
Okay. I agree with you. I mean, we're going to have to see, because obviously now the women are just, I mean, they watched this whole season and her come out after they filmed this season. So now knowing what they know, I'm curious how they're going to treat her in the upcoming season or even at the reunion, because that they're going to all be gunning for her.
Yeah. And that's what I don't get. I don't get that.
Why they would all be attacking Braunwyn?
Yeah, I don't get it.
Because I think that they think that everything that she's doing is for a storyline.
Yeah, like I get like them saying like, oh, she went to protest and she brought cameras, but like who cares? Like she went to protest, even if she was doing it for whatever reason, like she's still bringing awareness to it and she's still putting out the image like she cares and she's doing it. Like I don't think any of them did. Like,
well, and that's the same thing. Honestly, we're dealing with that same storyline on Real Housewives of Atlanta right now, because Kenya was trying to say that why is Portia always getting arrested for participating in the Black Lives Matter movement, and she's getting arrested on camera? Why is it every time it's on camera? And a lot of people got really upset with Kenya for saying that, because they were like, it doesn't matter. You're not putting yourself out there protesting. And she's standing up for a cause and using her public figure in an appropriate way to support, the Black Lives Matter movement. So again, you can't dictate to somebody how they do what they do.
I know. And I feel like Kenya's like doing that maybe for a storyline. Like she's trying to make sure her storylines get beefed up for the season. And I think that might be why the other cast members of Orange County are like going so hard at Braunwyn, like saying her storyline's fake, because like they don't really have other storylines of their own that are that interesting. And I feel like even with Atlanta, like when Nene was on there, like people would always just come at her and have a problem with her so that they could have a storyline and like speak at the reunion.
I agree with you. Okay. Well, and also, but one thing though, Kelly Dodd does have a right to come after Braunwyn at this reunion on the count of one thing. Braunwyn pointed out the fact that Kelly Dodd was stranded in New York when she dropped off her daughter Jolie to be with her dad during COVID, after the COVID restrictions and everything hit. So she was stranded at one point in New York with Rick Leventhal, but Jolie was with her dad. And then Kelly Dodd rebutted, and she was like, wait a minute. During COVID, you were taking a road trip across the United States and you were hanging out with the Real Housewives of New Jersey, the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, the Real Housewives of New York. It's like you were doing the same thing and you weren't bringing your 7 children with you. So that's going to obviously make Kelly Dodd, upset and want to speak on that.
Yeah, I get it. I just feel like after Kelly Dodd's comments about like the statues like not being torn down or not being able to change history or whatever, like she just really should not be saying much at the reunion, because that was just completely ignorant.
She says a lot of ignorant stuff though. And I think she teeters the fine line that keeps her around, because she doesn't always go all the way left to the point where Bravo can fire her for it. But she really walks this fine line. I mean, I could be wrong, but she does. I agree with you. She says a lot of ignorant, like even saying like to Shannon in this past episode, like, you got COVID? I was trying so hard to get COVID.
Yeah.
It's like, that sounds silly. That's an ignorant statement.
Yeah, she's very ignorant, but I really love the way that Braunwyn handled it, because she kind of explained it in a very like logical way, which is like, I hope that Kelly does get some more education on it, because it does seem like she's just ignorant, like she doesn't know, and she lives in like her Kelly Dodd bubble. So I hope she spends more time like addressing like those things other than like this little stuff with Braunwyn. But yeah, I feel like if I had a cast member on the show that was like going through all this heavy stuff, like real or not, like I would still just be showing support for my own like image. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. No, I agree with you. Well, Naomi, are you watching Real Housewives of Salt Lake City?
Oh, yeah.
All right. If you're around in 20 minutes, Jason and I are going live, and we're going to be talking about the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And also, Mary Cosby wasn't originally casted as a full-time housewife. Sarah MacArthur Pierce was, and Mary ended up replacing her. But we're going to talk about why exactly that was, which is really interesting.
Yeah, I seen that title for your upcoming live. I'm kind of excited to hear about that.
Yeah, and if you're around too, I mean, we always want callers, so I would love for you to call back in.
Okay, perfect. I also just had one more thing to say about the franchises. I think it would be really interesting if we got our first like gay housewife.
Like just you mean a woman or a man?
No, like a man.
That I mean, it would be interesting, but it might make some of the women uncomfortable, especially on these cast trips where the women are changing and they're doing these things and they run around naked sometimes and just get wild. Who knows? I don't know.
It would be so good though. Like, Giselle's friend Cal, like he's such a good like gay best friend, like just one that's like very feminine almost, but like flamboyant. Like I think it would be so good for the dynamic.
I couldn't even I don't even know what that would look like, but hey, listen, sign me up. I would join.
I know, you would be awesome.
Well, I appreciate you calling in, Naomi, as always, and Happy New Year. And I hope that you're around here in a little bit.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. And real quick, John said, Happy New Year, Adam. Will this be the year that Kenya and Cynthia break apart? Cynthia needs a storyline other than her wedding. Guys, this is what I find interesting about the whole Cynthia wedding storyline. Her wedding was not actually filmed by Bravo. So why it's, I mean, we'll get into that, especially with RJ Allen on next Monday's live. But I think Cynthia is probably going to be done after this season. Her husband, Mike Hill, lives in Porter Ranch in Los Angeles. And while Cynthia has a couple businesses right back in Atlanta, I just feel like her time is probably coming to an end. But I'm not the one who hands out the contracts, and nobody actually told me that from Bravo. So I'm just saying that this is an assumption. Nobody told me that. So I just want to make that clear. All right. And guys, also for a few of the callers that we had into, I'm just going to jump off of here because we're about to get ready for the next one. But Miriam, London girl, please call back. We also had a few other calls. I'm sorry that I missed you guys, but I will bring you back up with Jason. I promise. Just call back. We're going to be going live in 20 minutes. We're going to be talking about the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. We're going to be talking about the fact that Mary Cosby was not originally cast as a full-time housewife, how they switched production companies halfway through filming, and who the original housewife actually was. If you guys remember on the first episode, when she walked in for Jen's party, she walked in and she's like, happy birthday. And Jen Shaw was like, it's not my birthday. Actually, it is my birthday. It's always my birthday. But it was her. It was the party girl. That was the original housewife that was casted. We're going to jump into that. Guys, thank you so much. If you haven't already, hit that like button. Happy New Year's. And sorry for being lazy today, guys, but I just wanted to wear my own hoodie. Bye, guys. See you in a little bit.